Hey there, Yuris here, and welcome to Community Life. Here we talk with amazing humans from the community world about their life journeys and learn from each other. And today is a special episode. I'll ask Jenny Weigle, a great community professional, an amazing human being, and a great friend of mine, about her experience of listening to every single episode of the Community Life podcast. So, hello, Jenny.
Hi, Yuri. Thanks for having me back. It's such an honor.
Yay! I'm so happy. Yay. And we met in person. It's like double happiness.
Yes, because the
And
first time we had not. So everything's changed now for the better.
exactly, you are the one and only person I know who listened to all Community Life episodes. If somebody else has done this growth thing, please DM me. So tell me, why do you do that? What drives you?
Uh, First off, I try to listen to as many community podcasts as possible. So that's where it started. You started it, and I'm like, I must subscribe. I subscribed. I was trying to keep up with episodes at that point, but I admit in the beginning, I wasn't listening to all of them. Then last year, we both were invited to become speakers at the Community Rebellion Conference in Prague. And I realized that I knew about half the speakers that I saw on the list and half I didn't, but a lot of them you had done interviews with. And so I made it a point. I was like, oh, I'm going to be on the other side of the world with this great opportunity to be in the same room with these individuals. And I, I really wanted to know a little bit more about them. So I made it a point. I had a list. I was listening to everyone's episode if you had done an episode with them. And I really did in Prague. I tried to use that as like conversation points too. And I learned so much about people. And it was also at a time before that conference when there was a bit of a lull before of a lot of community conferences happening. And I was really yearning for some that in-person connection, or I guess any more of a connection than just virtual. And I was feeling something of that as I listened to your episodes.
Hmm.
It was hard to describe. So I think maybe the best way I can describe it is that sometimes I feel like I'm having coffee with you and the guest and me. Like if I'm listening in my living room or if I'm listening on it feels like we're all together. And I loved that feeling. So even after Prague, I told myself, "Oh my gosh, there's all these great other episodes. I'm just going to go through and listen." And it was for me filling a need of connection that was missing until these in-person events started to pick up again. And then I just found myself caught up, and I stay caught up because I do daily 30-minute walks and I listen to podcasts through that. So that helps me keep up with my queue. Yeah, and that's how I'm able to stay caught up. And you are always introducing fabulous new faces in the community world, like to everyone else in the community world. And I'm glad that a lot of the newer guests, people I haven't known. So it's been so great. Thank you, Yuri.
Yeah, thank you very much for such amazing feedback. You always make me blush, by saying that. And after you told about that you feel like having coffee, I was thinking, oh, maybe I should really invite Jenny to every episode recording. Maybe we should have this like conversation with three of us. So who knows? And talking about, so I guess one thing that can motivate people to listen to all the episodes, you have to be invited to the conference and you have to know all speakers. So number one checked. Okay, got it. And I'm curious, in what ways have this podcast influenced or maybe impacted your personal growth journey?
It's reminded me that there's so many other aspects to the people in our field that it's been a reminder for me when I do get the honor of meeting someone in person to not just talk about community stuff. Of course, I want to know what they're working on, what's worked for you, what are you doing for incentives, and how are you measuring? I want to know those things, but your conversations are also a reminder to ask about other aspects of life if they're willing to share, because we all have many other things going on in our lives that we don't a lot of people might not talk about on LinkedIn or in the many different Slack communities we're all part of with one another. And yeah, so it's like I feel like I carry a little bit of Yuri with me when I go to my in-person stuff, and I know I'm going to meet someone for coffee, or I'm going to go to one of my Community Pros of LA events, right? And it's like that little reminder in the back of my head, ask some other questions. And I always want to end the day, especially, I don't do this, but in my mind I do this. But when we have our community pros days here in LA, I want to end the day with your line. Let you know, I wish that the sky is the limit, but time is the limit. And maybe I will. Maybe I'll just start like, saying goodbye to everyone like that. But if they haven't listened to your podcast, they might just think I'm very strange.
Yeah, and the fun thing that I'll be honest, I heard very similar phrase. I kind of stole it. Okay, so not stole, but uh, put it in my toolbox. And something very similar. Bess McIntyre was saying in her 15 minutes community corner podcast. She was talking about something of the limit, and I was like, oh, looks great. So after that, I changed a lot, and I re-listened. It's not the same, but something very similar. So if you listened, you definitely will see it. And I'm curious. You told about that you are listening to many, many community podcasts. So what other podcasts are you listening to?
Oh my gosh. Well, Beth's was a favorite of mine too. I know she hasn't been doing it recently, but I loved all of those episodes. They were anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes, but packed with such good information. Very similarly, the Community Roundtable has a podcast I listen to, Peers Over Beers. I love hearing Chris and Nicole, of course, In Before the Lock. Yeah, and oh my gosh, there's just so many. Not to mention all my other podcasts I'm trying to like. I listen to a lot of fandom type podcasts as well. Oh, Christina uh Garnett's fan of the fans. That's a great one too, which it's not community in the title. Oh, but it is so about community. It really is.
Yeah, if it's Christina, for sure. I totally get it. And once my good friend messaged me and told that, oh, amazing, Jenny connected with them after listening to their episode. So I'm curious, what is your step-by-step approach to building human connections after listening to a new episode? So what is your action plan?
Well, with your episodes and anytime I hear other episodes that really something it left something with me, right? Like a great piece of information I learned or left me with a feeling, I will try to reach out on LinkedIn, or if I know the person, I'll try to, message them and just let them know how much I enjoyed it, what a takeaway was. I'm not always the best at that, but I really do try. And a good example of that is when you did your episode with Lisa Baroka. I know you used to work together, and I sent her a message and told her how much I enjoyed it, and she was like, "Well, we should meet. We should get on a call." We should, and we did. And we talked about. I remember asking her about like, what do you do outside of work? Like how do you relieve yourself of community stuff all the time? And she talked about how she volunteers at her local library, and that's something that has stayed with me. And I've been too busy lately, but I'm hoping to eventually rework my schedule so I can start volunteering at my local library. I love libraries. I love bookstores. Oh, talk about a warm and fuzzy feeling. I just get so inspired when I walk into any library or bookstore. So, yeah, that's just one of the examples. And then there's been many other times when I've gone to reach out to someone and it's just kicked off a whole thread or other conversations. And yeah, so it's not something I necessarily do for business purposes. It's just something I do to let people know, that I heard them. I heard
Yeah.
you, whether it was on community life or something else. I heard this, and like what you said helped me in this way. And I just feel like it's nice to do that for others. I love it when people do that for me. It means so much. I want to pay that forward.
So basically now you will volunteer in your local library. I get it. So,
I'm
and
hoping to. If I could just, oh man, my schedule. I know I want to. I need to.
can
Mm.
you recall any specific instances where someone's story resonated with you personally? Then you're like, oh my God, it's like my twin brother or sister.
Okay, Jason Baum was talking about his affinity for the holidays and like everything he described about what he does in his house and like to celebrate the holidays. I mean, that felt like I felt like Jason was my twin in that moment. Very much love the holiday time. I always joke with people and tell them my favorite holiday is Hello Thanksmas, because that whole period from Halloween to Christmas. Um, yeah, and we're doing a lot of things as a family that time. Our house is very decorated. We're doing all the things in LA that, pertain to those holidays. So, yeah, it was so fun listening to that. And I was like, there's someone else like me in the community world like this. And I know there are a couple other people too, but as he described it, it got me excited. I was just like, I literally was just filled with joy. gosh, I remember Erin Peters talking about her travels and being inspired by like all of her travel, like the travel stories she was sharing. And I also remember like Demario Bell talking about his love for his city of Detroit, and you could hear that. You could hear the passion coming through. And the one time I visited Detroit, I was in awe at that city because it has such a beautiful history. And I wanted to know more, and I wanted to see some of these buildings, and I wanted to see what's happening with the city today. And I've only been there once, and it was a quick trip. So, anyways, that was really cool to hear like Demario just talking about his love for Detroit through that. Oh my God, there's been so many. I mean, so many. I'm so glad you recently interviewed Talia. And she, I knew that she was a writer, and I've had the privilege of reading, some of her works, and I have one of her poetry books. And I was so glad that you were finally like letting everyone else know, hey, she besides a community pro, she's a writer and all these other things. And I love that. I love how you're showing a different side of everyone.
Yeah, there are so many interests, and I still don't understand why there is no community band, community music band, because there are so many also people who plays on guitars, on drums, who sings,
Hmm.
and like I don't
Who
know,
who should be in the
maybe
community band? Let's
the
see. All
world
right,
is
I'm
waiting
thinking
for us.
immediately. I'm thinking Scott Baldwin, Pat Cooney. We need Nicole Saunders on vocals. Who
Ilker for
else?
sure.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be background singer. I do amateur singing, but I'm not ready to be up front yet.
Rusi Berber also can sing. Then Edu Giansante. It's not a published episode. Okay, I feel like it will be published after I will publish this episode with us. So he's playing drums and also guitar.
Love
Um,
it.
who else? Who else?
I know we're missing people. Apologies, everyone, but yeah.
Totally,
So
totally. But
community
yeah, there are
band.
so many. So yeah, I think that at one of the conferences, most likely some for international conference, we definitely have to have some kind of stand with like musical instruments, and then everyone will just go take their instrument and we will just play something. We will agree beforehand, and
I love
okay,
it.
sounds like
Oh,
a
one
plan,
day.
Yeah. Have have there been any moments where listening to someone's story made you think differently about a particular aspect of your life?
Oh my gosh, there's been a number of people. I'm gonna get his last name wrong. I apologize, but Francisco Arizmendi.
Hmm.
I really loved how he talked about the synergies between acting, performing, and community, and I loved how he just took his skills in acting and performing, and he's just like aligned all of these things. And it made me think like I wish I could do a better job at aligning some of my more personal interests with my community consulting work. It's hard. And yeah, and so I remember like listening to this episode thinking or thinking on that with admiration that he really had done something so beautiful in that regard. Who else? Vicky Cumberbatch. I just love everything she is doing lately. Talk about someone being really aligned with their purpose. I feel like that is coming through even more in her recent initiatives and her work. So yeah, there are also just some people who, as I listen to them talk on your episodes, they're speaking with such clarity in what they are working towards that it is so moving and inspirational because like wow, that person has done some deep work and like they sound so clear and passionate about what they're doing, and it's like I in that moment I become their biggest cheerleader. I take a little bit of that with me too. So yeah, I think I get a little bit of something from all of the episodes in some way, but those are just the ones come to mind.
Yeah, by the way, we should count Francisco in. He will play keyboards. So
Okay. I hope
yeah.
you got a list going here because we should. It'd be funny if we all did have images of everybody too, and we could just like somehow put together like a Canva picture, fake picture of. Yeah, I don't know if that would be
we,
funny or
we we
not.
can ask
Um,
AI do that, like AI can do anything. So
yeah, yeah.
I know that it's kind of hard to answer the next question. It's like choosing your favorite child, but do you have a favorite episode?
I think Carrie Melissa Jones was one of the first episodes I listened to, and so I'll say hers. Uh, because I love hearing about her life and her journey and of course things outside of the community world. Um, and I also loved her as a guest because then she ended up interviewing you. And I know you've had a couple of those by now, but I think that was the first one I listened to of someone else interviewing you. Um, but yeah, and I'm also happy to call Carrie a friend in this space, and I continue to admire like what she is doing. So it's always nice when it's someone you are friends with and admire at that level, and then you still learn more about them, right? Like it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's a fun thing that sometimes guests tell me that um, there is a friend of mine who kind of know everything about me, and then they messaged and told me that, oh, I didn't know about that after listening to the episode. I was like, yeah, sure. Exactly. That's how it meant to be, like, and now I'm even like for the future guest, I'm saying like, you know, after the episode will be released, some people will message and tell you, I didn't know about that. So it's also, and I really love those moments. And I really love when people share it with me because, it's like definitely I receive firsthand information from every guest, but usually people who are listening, they're kind of like silent, there is no feedback. And that's exactly why I invited you today to ask all these questions because like you done an amazing thing. Yeah. I didn't listen to every episode because like
You've done them all, yeah. I'll tell you, I've gotten a lot of great music recommendations too. Hey, are you going to put together I know we chat about this on like LinkedIn or something. Are you going to put together like a song list of everything people have suggested?
yes, I have it on my to-do list. I don't know when I will do it. I collect every song recommendations after between two water coolers, and I have two lists. One with recommendations for 2023, second for 2024. And I will definitely do this list too. And it's not that hard. I need just 30 minutes, 1 hour, or something like that. But yeah, I will definitely do it. I don't know if it will be Spotify because I feel like people are not everyone using Spotify, but it will definitely be at least on YouTube because it's like the
Cool.
easiest way to find. So yes,
Fun.
stay tuned. It'll be very soon. So is there anything specific you'd like to see or hear more about in upcoming episodes?
Well, I have two ideas to maybe pitch to you on the things that God left. Okay. So I know like in the beginning of your episodes, you say the person's name and you do say their title and where they work, and then you go into non-community stuff. I've always like, but there's always a little part of me that would like to know, ooh, maybe one more little thing about community. So maybe like inserting one question, or maybe in the beginning you give them like a list of like a few community questions and let them pick one, and that's the one question about community they're going to get asked. I don't know, like just an idea. But what's interesting is that that usually drives me to like go look at their LinkedIn page, see their experience, and like, so yeah, there is a level I want to know them more, a little bit about community too, but you don't have to like go into the deep community stuff, because I love the current format. And then the other idea that you could play with, again, take this or leave it, but has to do with kind of something I learned from the podcast Diary of a CEO. Have you ever heard that one?
No, not yet.
It's fantastic. The quality of guests has been ever since I started listening. Oh my God, I learned so much from that podcast. But what he does at the end of every interview is he asks his guest a question that has been left by the previous guest, but he doesn't tell you who. So the previous guest has posed some question out of the blue, could be on anything, right? And he saves it and he asks it at the end to the next guest. And then that guest is also supposed to pose a question for the next person. And I think that is such a cool thing. And it's a way to tie in each episode. And then he took it a step further. This is a brilliant business move. He took all the questions that the guests have asked and he made conversation cards out of them. And you can order the card deck off of his website. And there's a little QR code that will link to the full episode if you want to hear the person who answered their question.
Wow.
I mean, it's beautiful, right? I'm like, I love it. I love when someone thinks of something so unique, so engaging, and brings it full circle like that. So, anyways, just something I don't know. In future episodes, you could always, ask a guest to leave a question for the next guest.
It sounds like pay it forward, something like
Yeah,
that. And then like
yeah.
people, oh my God, who left me this question? I want to know who this person is. And I'm like, nope, You won't know unless they will message you. Yeah. Yeah. And I will definitely listen to this podcast. Is it Diary of CEO?
Diary of a CEO.
Got it. Yeah. I definitely love to learn from other great experts. So if you have any more podcasts that you love and you think that there is something else to learn, please
Ooh.
tell them right away. Just list them all.
I can give you one right off the top of my head right now that I love. All right, it's the Atlas Obscura podcast. If you've ever been to the Atlas Obscura website, they like to they list weird and unique travel spots that aren't
Hmm.
necessarily always the touristy spots. So they have their own podcast, and every episode is between like 15, 20 minutes long, and they have one every weekday, and they profile one of their spots. So it's my daily dose of wonder, this Atlas Obscura podcast. It's brief, it's short, it's to the point, and I learn about a new place. And now from it, I have all these places all over the world I want to visit, of course. But yeah, it's my daily dose of wonder. I recommend that for sure.
Got it. And you shared like something that to add to the community life. And yeah, great ideas. Thank you very much for that. And what is one thing that we, I mean, me and future guests, can do to make this podcast even better?
I don't really know. I mean, nothing is coming to mind because it's already such a like laid back atmosphere that at least that from what I'm hearing, what I'm taking in. Um, yeah, so I'm not sure what your guests could do more of. I feel like everyone's brought their very authentic selves, and and you're an amazing host, and so keep doing the podcast. That's what you can do. Keep doing
Okay,
it.
Jenny,
Keep introducing us to more fantastic people.
I will add one thing. Please keep good internet connection. Please do that. Yeah, I'm kidding.
Yes.
But it's always like when editing, I'm always telling that we're just recording a raw conversation. I do no edits. It's like if you only want me to cut something, I will cut. But in general, no. But if we have bad internet connection, oh, it's a nightmare. I have to sit and cut all those small pieces, to make. So please, please, please do have good internet connection. Okay, yeah. Anyway, I'm just kidding. And is there one question that I definitely should have asked you but didn't?
No, you asked all the good ones, Yuri. You always do.
Oh, you're very kind. Yeah. So, Jenny, once again, you are the one and only person I know who did this, I don't know, miracle. Yes. So, thank you very much. You like just you saying, telling me that you listened to all those episodes and people who messaged me that Jenny reached out to them and had a great conversation. It motivates me and makes my heart warm so many times. So please continue listening to the podcast and continue sharing with me if you met somebody or if you've done somebody after this conversation. Please share it with me. I really want to know all those stories. And yeah, thank you very much for giving your feedback. It's like focus group, customer interview, not customer, but kind of session. And yeah, thank you very much for your time and for being so open and honest here.
Thanks, Yuri. I look forward to our next conversation and the next time we see each other in person.
Yes, I hope so. And for now, see you in the community world.